The summer light over Buckingham Palace was unusually sharp that morning, reflecting off the stone walls as if the entire residence was waiting for something unspoken to happen. Inside the private corridor leading to the royal briefing room, King Charles stood still for a moment longer than usual, his expression unreadable, while Queen Camilla adjusted her gloves with controlled precision. No one said out loud, but everyone knew today was about Catherine. And when Catherine Middleton stepped into the corridor, the atmosphere subtly changed. Not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet recalibration of attention. She wore a soft ivory summer ensemble, tailored with effortless grace, simple yet impossibly refined. There was no attempt to outshine anyone, yet somehow she did exactly that without trying. Queen Camilla's eyes narrowed for just a second, a look too small for cameras, but sharp enough for those who knew palace language. Tension in silk and silence. This moment did not come from nowhere. It had been building for years. At royal garden events, Catherine had often been positioned slightly behind senior royals, her presence acknowledged but never centered. At holiday gatherings in Sandringham, subtle remarks about modern simplicity had floated through conversations whenever her style leaned too relatable, too loved by the public. There were birthdays where photographs were carefully arranged so that attention naturally shifted away from her and toward tradition. And yet, every single time, something unexpected happened. The public's focus drifted back to Catherine anyway. Calmly, naturally, Princess and once quietly remarked during a private lunch that some people don't need positioning, they carry their own light. It was never repeated publicly, but it stayed in the room longer than the conversation itself. The summer press event. The press gallery was full that afternoon, cameras lined like silent witnesses. Prince William stood slightly behind Catherine, adjusting his posture as reporters called out names. King Charles watched from a reserved distance, his expression measured but tired. Queen Camilla sat with composed stillness, her gaze occasionally shifting toward Catherine's presence rather than the microphones. Catherine stepped forward when introduced, her summer outfit simple, yet impossibly photogenic under the soft lighting. A pale pastel tone that reflected calm authority rather than attention-seeking glamour. A photographer whispered, "She doesn't compete, she defines the frame." And that whisper traveled faster than any official statement. The shift begins quietly. That evening, the royal family gathered for private dinner. Heavy curtains blocked the last light of sunset, and the long table reflected flickers of candlelight like fragments of unspoken tension. King Charles spoke first, carefully choosing words about tradition and continuity. Queen Camilla followed with a comment about maintaining royal dignity through restraint and structure. Then Catherine spoke. Her voice was calm, steady, not louder than anyone else. Just clearer, I believe dignity also includes connection, and connection evolves. A silence followed, not uncomfortable at first, but deepening. William glanced at her briefly, then lowered his gaze, understanding the weight of what she had just placed on the table without raising her voice. Queen Camilla responded softly, almost delicately, but with a sharp undertone. Evolution must still recognize boundaries. Catherine nodded slightly. No resistance, no challenge, just acknowledgement. And that was what unsettled the room the most. The unseen break. Later that night, King Charles was seen walking alone through the Windsor corridor, hands clasped behind his back, as if replaying every word from dinner. Queen Camilla remained in her private room longer than usual. Staff reported the silence behind her door was heavier than any raised voice. And somewhere else in the palace, Catherine stood by a window overlooking the dark gardens, still in her evening attire. Not celebrating, not reacting, just observing. William approached quietly. "They are watching you differently now," he said. Catherine replied without turning. "They always were. They just didn't know it yet." The photo that changed everything. A set of official summer photographs was released quietly that night. Catherine in her elegant daytime look, standing with the children, sunlight soft across the frame. No crowns, no ceremony, just presence. But the reaction outside the palace walls was immediate. Not because of extravagance, but because of simplicity that felt like authority. Inside the palace, however, the response was very different. Queen Camilla's aides reportedly paused before entering her room that night. No instructions were given to the press office for several hours. King Charles requested the photographs be reviewed again before further distribution. Something had shifted. Quietly, irreversibly. The power does not announce itself. In the dim silence of Buckingham Palace, Catherine's presence was no longer seen as decorative or supportive. It was becoming central, not through declaration, but through inevitability. Even those resistant to change could feel it. The structure was not collapsing. It was adjusting, slowly, reluctantly, towards something it could no longer ignore. And in that silence, one question lingered across every corridor, every closed door, every guarded conversation. What happens when quiet strength becomes the most powerful force inside the palace? The morning after the silence, the palace woke up differently. Not with noise, but with hesitation. Staff moved through corridors with unusual care, as if even footsteps might disturb something fragile that had shifted overnight. Inside the private wing, King Charles had already been awake for hours. Papers untouched, tea gone cold, his gaze fixed on the same line of correspondence that had been placed before him the night before, documents referencing the public response to Catherine's summer appearance. Queen Camilla entered without her usual pace. There was something restrained in her expression, as if the previous night had not ended properly. "She is becoming the focus," she said quietly. Not anger, not accusation, just recognition. King Charles didn't answer immediately. That silence was more telling than words. The calm that draws attention. At Kensington, Catherine stood in a softly lit room with her children briefly before they left for their morning schedule. No cameras, no ceremony, just a mother adjusting a collar, smoothing a sleeve, brushing away a strand of hair with instinctive care. Prince William watched from the doorway. He didn't interrupt. He rarely did in moments like this. "You know they're calling it a shift," he said quietly after a moment. Catherine didn't look up immediately. Everything changes slowly before people admit it has changed at all. Her tone wasn't triumphant. It never was. That was what made it heavier in meaning. The private meeting no one announced. A small gathering was held behind closed doors. No press notice. No formal agenda released. Only presence. King Charles sat at the head of the table. Queen Camilla on his right. William present. Catherine invited not as decoration, but as necessity. The discussion began with tradition. It always did. But this time, tradition sounded less certain than usual. Queen Camilla spoke first, carefully measured. The monarchy has survived because it does not bend too quickly to public emotion. A pause. Catherine responded after a moment, voice steady. And it survives only when the public still feels it belongs to them. No interruption followed. Even disagreement needed time to form. Sandringham Winter Meeting OLD patterns revisited. Charles referenced past decisions at Sandringham, moments where image control had been prioritized over public connection. He spoke not defensively but reflectively. "We have always balanced distance," he said, "is what protects the crown." William finally spoke, more direct than usual. But distance is no longer what people respond to. All eyes shifted briefly toward him. Then toward Catherine. She did not react immediately. That restraint itself was the answer forming in the room. The unexpected turn. Later that day, Catherine was invited to review a proposed public engagement schedule for the summer season. It was routine on paper, but inside the documents was something different, an unspoken restructuring of visibility, events where she would lead, appearances where her presence would be central, not secondary. Queen Camilla noticed first. Her expression tightened slightly. "This wasn't discussed," she said softly. Catherine looked down at the page, then up. "It's not a replacement. It's reflection of what already exists." No raised voice, no confrontation, just alignment stated as fact, and for the first time, no immediate correction followed. The moment that shifted balance. That evening, an informal gathering brought senior royals together under soft golden lighting. Portraits lined the walls. Decades of monarchy watching silently. A photographer captured Catherine speaking with staff, laughing gently at something small and human. Not staged, not controlled. Across the room, Queen Camilla observed in silence. King Charles stood beside her, but his attention kept drifting. Not away from tradition, but toward reaction, because the reaction outside the palace was no longer predictable. It was centered, and centered things eventually become unavoidable. Catherine moved through the room without urgency, greeting people, acknowledging conversations, never positioning herself at the center, yet somehow always becoming it anyway. William approached her quietly. "You're not pushing for this," he said. Catherine replied softly. "I never needed to." The realization that cannot be undone. Later that night, King Charles reviewed public sentiment reports alone. Not as monarch in ceremony, but as a father and ruler facing something gradual and undeniable. Queen Camilla remained composed, but quieter than before. The tone of control had shifted into observation. N01 declared change. But no one denied it anymore either. Somewhere in the palace, Catherine's presence in recent public appearances continued circulating through conversations, newspapers, and quiet internal briefings. Not as spectacle, but as direction, and direction is harder to resist than authority. The quiet power becomes clear. Catherine stood briefly near a window, overlooking the dark grounds again. The same stillness, the same control. William joined her. "They're adjusting," he said. Catherine nodded slightly. "They're understanding." A pause, and when they understand, William asked, "What happens next?" Catherine looked out into the night. "Then nothing has to be forced anymore." The silence that followed wasn't emptiness. It was transition. And in that transition, the balance inside the monarchy was no longer what it had been before. Not declared, not announced, but already changed. When quiet influence begins to reshape an entire institution from within, is it still tradition or something entirely new forming in its place? Share your thoughts in the comments, like, share, and subscribe, and click on the next video appearing on your screen for the next chapter of this unfolding royal shift.